Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Emily, and today I'm diving into a story that flipped my world upside down and reshaped who I am. This isn't just a love story, it's a roller coaster of falling head over heels, getting my heart shattered, wandering through the wreckage, and coming out stronger on the other side. If you've ever loved someone so much you'd give them everything, or if you've been betrayed but still found a way to pick yourself up, this one's for you. Grab a coffee, a snack, maybe a blanket. This is gonna be a long, emotional ride, full of highs, lows, and moments that I hope will inspire you to think about what love really means, for someone else and for yourself. Let's get into it. I was 24 when it all started. I just graduated from college with a degree in creative writing, moved to Chicago, a big, vibrant city buzzing with life, and was figuring out what I wanted. I lived in a tiny studio apartment in a walk-up building, with peeling paint, a squeaky bed, and a window overlooking a noisy street filled with honking cabs and neon signs. I was freelancing as a content writer for a couple of online magazines, scraping by but excited to be in a city where anything felt possible. Still, deep down, I felt this quiet ache. You know when life looks good on paper, new city, new job, new start, but something's missing? Like your heart's waiting for a spark to light it up. I was searching for that spark in late-night walks through Wicker Park, in dive bar conversations, in the pages of novels I devoured, but it kept slipping through my fingers. Everything changed one crisp fall evening in September. My best friend, Sarah, dragged me to an open mic night at a coffee shop in Logan Square. I wasn't in the mood. Work had been brutal, with deadlines piling up and a client who kept rewriting my drafts. All I wanted was to stay home, order takeout, and binge The Office. But Sarah was relentless. "Emily, you're not spending another night on your couch," she said over FaceTime, her voice half teasing, half serious. "This place has great vibes, and you need to get out. Come on." I groaned but gave in, throwing on a flannel shirt, jeans, and my favorite boots, expecting to sip a latte, clap politely, and head home early. The coffee shop was cozy. Exposed brick walls, fairy lights, the smell of roasted beans. I sat at a wobbly table near the back, nursing an overpriced cappuccino, watching poets and musicians take the stage, thinking, okay, 1 hour, then I'm out. Then he walked up to the mic, Ethan. I noticed him the second he stepped into the spotlight. Tall, with messy brown hair tucked under a beanie, wearing a faded band tee and a leather jacket that looked like it had stories of its own. He strummed a guitar and started singing, a raw, soulful song about chasing dreams and losing yourself along the way. His voice wasn't perfect, but it was real, like he was pouring his heart out. I couldn't look away. His eyes scanned the crowd, and for a split second, they locked with mine. My heart skipped a beat. After his set, he came over to my table, probably because I was one of the few still clapping like a fangirl. "You like the song?" he asked, his smile easy but curious. I stumbled over my words, saying something about how his lyrics hit me. That's how it started. Ethan was a musician and part-time barista, full of dreams and stories. He told me about growing up in a small town, sneaking into bars to play gigs, and his plan to record an album someday. We talked until the coffee shop closed, swapping stories about our favorite books, bands, and the places we wanted to see. He had this way of making everything feel alive, like the world was a canvas, and he was painting it with every word. When he asked for my number, I scribbled it on a napkin, my hands shaking a little. As I walked home, the city lights blurring around me, I thought, this is it. This is the spark I've been waiting for. A few days later, he texted, "Hey, Emily, wanna grab a drink or just walk around?" I said yes, and soon we were wandering through Millennium Park at night, the beam reflecting the city's glow. He talked about music, pointing out rhythms in the sounds of the city, traffic, laughter, a distant busker's saxophone. "Life's like a song, Emily," he said. "You just gotta find the melody." I fell hard, not just for him, but for how he made me feel, bold, inspired, like I could be anything. We started dating, and it was like stepping into a dream. Our relationship was a whirlwind. Within weeks, we were inseparable. We'd drive out to the suburbs, park by Lake Michigan, and watch the waves while he played acoustic covers on his guitar. We'd hit up thrift stores in Andersonville, hunting for vintage records or quirky jackets, laughing at the ugliest finds. He'd sketch me in his notebook, quick doodles of my face, my hands, the way I looked when I was lost in thought. "You're my muse, Emily," he'd say, and I'd laugh, saying I looked better in his sketches than in real life. "Nah, you're perfect as is," he'd reply, and I started to believe him. For the first time, I felt seen, like I was enough. We had our little rituals. Every Saturday, we'd go to this hole-in-the-wall diner in Wicker Park, the kind with sticky tables and the best pancakes in the city. We'd sit in a corner booth, splitting a stack of blueberry pancakes, talking about everything, our dreams, our fears, the future. He wanted to tour with his band. I wanted to write a novel. One morning, over coffee, he grabbed my hand and said, "Emily, let's make a deal. Someday, we'll road trip across the country, Route 66, coast to coast, just you, me, and a playlist." I grinned, picturing us in a beat-up van, singing along to Springsteen, chasing sunsets. It felt like we were building something unstoppable. But you know how it goes, when life feels too good, there's always a catch. About 9 months in, I started noticing cracks. Ethan got inconsistent. He'd go silent for hours, sometimes a whole day, when we used to text non-stop, silly memes, song lyrics, random thoughts. He'd cancel plans last minute, blaming late shifts at the coffee shop or band rehearsals running long. At first, I brushed it off. "He's just busy," I told myself. Creative types are like that. But the doubts crept in, like shadows at the edges of my mind. Was I doing something wrong? Was he pulling away? I tried to be the perfect girlfriend, planned date nights, surprised him with concert tickets. But he was distant, like he was somewhere else even when we were together. I started overanalyzing everything. I'd lie awake at night, the city's hum outside my window, replaying our conversations. Had I said something to upset him? Was I too clingy? Too boring? One night, I remember sitting in my apartment, scrolling through our old texts. There was one from months back. Emily, you make every day brighter. My eyes stung reading it. Where had that Ethan gone? I started questioning myself, wondering if I'd been too much or not enough. The uncertainty was like a weight I couldn't shake. There was this one moment that hit hard. We'd planned to go to a music festival in Grant Park, local bands, food trucks, the whole vibe. I'd been pumped for weeks, even made a playlist for us. But the day before, he texted, "Hey, Em, I'm slammed with work. Can we skip it?" My heart sank. It wasn't just the festival, it was the fourth time that month he'd bailed. I typed out a reply, "Sure, no worries," but my fingers hovered over the send button. I wanted to ask what was wrong, to beg for answers, but I was terrified of what he'd say. Things came to a head one chilly October evening. We were at his place, a cramped loft with posters of Nirvana and Radiohead plastered on the walls. We were eating takeout pizza, sitting on his sagging couch, when I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Ethan, what's going on?" I asked, my voice shaking. "You're not yourself. If I'm doing something wrong, just tell me. I need to know." He stared at the floor, picking at the label on his beer bottle, silent for what felt like forever. Then he said, "Emily, I don't know if I'm built for this, for us. I feel like I'm losing my edge, my freedom." His words cut deep. Losing his freedom? Wasn't I part of his life, his happiness? I pressed him, asking what I'd done, what I could fix, but he just shook his head. "It's not you, it's me," he said, over and over. That phrase, it's like a punch you don't see coming. It feels like an excuse, like you're not worth the truth. Then he dropped the bomb. "There's someone else," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean for it to happen, but I'd been seeing her for a few weeks. My world stopped. Her name was Mia, someone he'd met at a gig. He swore it wasn't serious, that he was confused, but it didn't matter. The betrayal hit like a tidal wave. I felt stupid, small, like I'd been a placeholder in his story. I grabbed my jacket and walked out, tears streaming down my face as I stumbled through the cold Chicago streets. He didn't follow me. When I got home, I collapsed onto my bed and let it all out. I cried until my throat was raw, screamed into my pillow, typed out angry texts I never sent, texts begging him to explain, to take it back, to choose me. I felt like my heart had been ripped out, leaving a jagged hole. Why wasn't I enough? What did she have that I didn't? I replayed every moment of our relationship, every late-night talk, every diner breakfast, every song he played for me, searching for the moment I'd messed up. But there were no answers, just an ache that wouldn't quit. The next few months were a blur of gray. I went through the motions, wrote articles, smiled at clients, laughed at Sarah's jokes, but inside, I was crumbling. I avoided the coffee shop where we met, the diner, even the playlist we'd made together. Every time I saw his band's flyer on a lamppost or heard a song that sounded like his, my chest tightened. I started blaming myself. Was I too needy? Did I love him too much? Did I scare him off? The questions looped in my head, relentless, like a song stuck on repeat. One moment sticks out from those dark days. I was walking home from a late shift, the city alive with lights and noise, but I felt like I was drowning in silence. I passed a street musician playing a cover of Wonderwall, a song Ethan used to strum for me. The memory hit so hard I had to stop, lean against a storefront, and catch my breath. I realized I wasn't just grieving him, I was grieving the version of myself I'd been with him. The Emily who laughed easily, who dreamed big, who felt unstoppable. I didn't know how to get her back. About 5 months after the breakup, I hit a turning point. I was sitting in the diner, our diner, because I was tired of avoiding it, scrolling through Instagram to distract myself from the memories. Then I saw it, a post from Ethan. He was in New York, arm around Mia, smiling at a gig. The caption read, "Chasing Dreams." My stomach dropped, tears pricking my eyes right there in the booth. But as I stared at that photo, something clicked. I was done. Done crying, done waiting for answers, done letting him define my worth. I was tired of being a ghost of myself. I wanted my life back. I started small, because that's all I could manage. Sarah convinced me to sign up for a pottery class at a local studio. I'd never touched clay before, but she said, You need to make something with your hands. It'll help." I went, expecting to hate it, but there was something grounding about shaping a lump of clay into a bowl, even if it was lopsided. Every spin of the wheel, every press of my fingers, felt like I was molding myself back together. In that class, I met Ava, a graphic designer with a laugh that filled the room. She became my lifeline, reminding me I could still find joy. I started saying yes to things I'd always put off. I joined a book club, where we read everything from sci-fi to poetry, and I found myself arguing about stories again, my voice stronger each week. I signed up for a beginner's dance class, swing dancing, of all things. The first few lessons were a disaster. I tripped over my own feet, bumped into my partner, but I laughed through it, and that laughter felt like freedom. I started running in the mornings along Lake Michigan, the wind in my face, feeling my strength return with every step. One day, I decided to revisit my writing, not the freelance stuff, but the stories I used to write in college, the ones I'd tucked away when life got busy. I pulled out an old notebook and started pouring my heart onto the page. At first, it was raw, pages of anger, sadness, questions about Ethan. But then it became something else, stories about resilience, about a girl who lost love but found herself. I started a blog, sharing those stories anonymously, and to my shock, people responded. Readers left comments saying my words made them feel seen, and that gave me a purpose I hadn't felt in years. I also took a leap and signed up for a photography workshop. I'd always loved snapping photos on my phone, street art, sunsets, coffee cups, but never thought I was artsy enough to take it seriously. The workshop was intimidating at first, showing my work to strangers, but the instructor, a guy named Marcus, saw something in my shots. "You've got an eye for the quiet moments, Emily," he said. I started going on photo walks with a classmate, Olivia, capturing Chicago's gritty beauty, alleys, murals, the L tracks at dusk. Those moments, framing the world through a lens, made me feel alive again. With every step, every pottery bowl, every dance move, every story, every photo, I felt the pain of losing Ethan fade. It wasn't gone, but it wasn't my whole world anymore. I started posting my writing and photos online, and the response blew me away. People messaged me, saying my stories gave them hope, my photos made them see their city differently. For the first time, I felt like I was enough, not because someone loved me, but because I was creating something real. About 2 years later, I ran into Ethan at a record store in Logan Square. He was flipping through vinyls, looking tired, his beanie pulled low. We talked, and it was strange, like meeting a character from a book I'd read long ago. He told me his band had broken up, that things with Mia didn't work out. "I messed up, Emily," he said, his voice heavy. "You were the realest thing I ever had." I waited for the old ache to hit, the butterflies, the longing. But it didn't come. I felt calm, whole. I didn't need his words to feel worthy anymore. I smiled, wished him luck, and walked away, the weight of him finally gone. Now, I'm 26, and I'm living my life on my terms. I'm still writing, and my blog's grown into a small community of people sharing their stories. I've sold a few short stories to literary magazines, which feels like a dream. I'm still taking photos, even had a small exhibit at a local gallery last month. I travel when I can, took a solo trip to New Orleans recently, wandered the French Quarter, wrote poetry in cafes. I'm meeting new people, and while I'm not rushing into love, I know my heart's open to it, the kind that builds me up, not breaks me down. This isn't a story about finding the one or a perfect movie-style ending. It's about finding myself. It's about how heartbreak, as brutal as it is, can lead you to a stronger, truer you. If you're out there, nursing a broken heart, feeling like you'll never be whole again, hear me out, you will. You're stronger than you know. And maybe, just maybe, this pain is the start of something beautiful. Alright, guys, I want to hear from you. Have you ever gone through a breakup that felt like the end, but led you to a better version of yourself? What helped you heal? Drop your stories in the comments, let's lift each other up. If this resonated, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's keep sharing our journeys. Thanks for sticking with me through this long one. I'll see you in the next video.